what can you say about Cronkite? How would you define what he brought to the table that was different?
Well, what he wanted a hard news broadcast without compromise. You had to sell him on features. He didn't want any features. As I said before earlier, he didn't even want Severide and Reasoner in the commentary thing. Although in the abstract he would acknowledge that they were an added ingredient. Certainly Severide, but Reasoner also, distinguished us from NBC, who had nothing like this. So, but Cronkite, you know, if he had his way, he would have filled the whole broadcast with nothing but hard news. Events that happened today, speeches that were made today, or anticipating something that was going to happen tomorrow, you know, or some huge accident or earthquake that happened yesterday, you know. But in those days, of course, we didn't have access to today's news today all the time. We were very often a day or so late because of logistics and the technology.
But does that emphasis on hard news relate in some way to the famous sign-off, and that's the way it is? And how did that sign-off come about?
Well, again, it was an accidental compromise. When Cronkite took the air on the 15-minute show, you know, people forget he replaced Doug Edwards before he went to a half hour. He signed off first night saying, and that's the top of the news. I'm paraphrasing now. That's the top of the news. Make sure you read your newspaper to get all the news and the details tomorrow. Well, there was an earthquake at Black Rock where all the salesmen and the managers went crazy. Here's Cronkite sending our viewers to our competitors. And Dick Salant and Cronkite had a wrestling match, and it just wasn't going to fly. So Cronkite's backup was, and that's the way it is, causing Salant, not management, they didn't care so much over there, causing Salant heartburn. And Salant and Cronkite had a terrific go-around. Salant said, but it's not the way it is. You know, we're not telling people the way it is. We've left out this and that, you know, but then Cronkite said, well, let's go back to tell them to read their newspapers. They went around and around and around. Cronkite stuck to his guns, and Salant finally threw up his arms and let it go. Now, antecedent to all of this is the fact that in the 30s and 40s, the very famous broadcasters, Murrow, Gabriel Heater, others, names that occur to me, all had sign-offs that were very, Lowell Thomas, you know, Edward R. Murrow, good night and good luck. Right. I forget Lowell Thomas's sign-off. And it was kind of an acknowledged personal piece of gimmickry that worked, that tied you to the audience, and it was easy to remember. So Cronkite wanted some distinguishing sign-off. He didn't want to just say, this is Walter Cronkite, good night. And so that was the driving motivation to come up with something.